So Council Place 2, you guys know the format, 1.5 minute open. We'll do 1 minute questions, 2 questions each, and then a 1.5 minute close. Mr. Levine and Mr. Riccadelli. And Mr. Levine, let's start with you, your 1.5 minute opening. Thank you.
Thank you for having me today. I am Steve Levine. We'll get that out of the way quickly. I'm a 38-year resident of Plano, retired marketing researcher, so I'm a little analytical. I raised my family here, put 2 boys through the Plano ISD schools, and then I have blended a family here in Plano. So I've had the opportunity to really kind of have 2 families here in the Plano area. I truly believe that Plano is a city of excellence, and I am committed to keeping it that way. I will look at every issue before the council with an open mind, and will make sure that every taxpayer penny collected is needed and spent wisely. I pledge to keep our city one of the safest in America. Be certain that I place the same high value on safety that our citizens do, and because a healthy city is a prosperous city, I'm committed to helping Plano come out of this pandemic stronger than ever. I've served 7 years on the Plano Library Board and the Parks Board. I've graduated from Leadership Plano, and I've served on several other committees. And while some may claim to oppose high-density apartments, yet over the past years, the council's approved thousands of such apartments. I led the effort to defeat the biggest proposal in Plano history for redevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to be as gracious as possible, but we need to stay on schedule. Yeah, on schedule.
Good evening. For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Anthony Riccadelli, and it's been an honor to serve you on the Plano City Council these past 4 years. We have delivered excellent city services, achieved property tax relief, and kept Plano both a thriving suburban community and a global economic leader. As Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, a position to which my colleagues on council elected me in 2019, I have helped lead our community through a pandemic, an economic roller coaster, and a winter storm. As a council member, I have kept Plano suburban, advocating for a Plano with vibrant neighborhoods while continuing to recruit desirable employers and bring job growth to our city. I always take feedback from adjacent homeowners and property owners seriously when considering zoning, and I've voted with my colleagues to repeal the controversial Plano Tomorrow Plan and held the line on density, voting against a number of high-density zoning cases. During my service on City Council, I've taken a stand for fiscal responsibility. I successfully advocated for council to decrease the tax rate to what is known as the effective tax rate, which was something that hadn't been done in Plano in almost a decade. I'm honored that my leadership has earned me the endorsements of the Collin County Republican Party, the Plano Police Association, the Plano Firefighter Association, Collin County Conservative Republicans, Plano Republican Women, Plano Citizens Coalition, U.S. Impact, State Senator Angela Paxton, State Representative Matt Shaheen, State Representative Jeff Leach, State Representative Candy Noble, County Judge Chris Hill, Commissioner Cheryl Williams, Susan Fletcher, and many others. Now I'm running for re-election to continue my work on your behalf.
And we have 2 questions. Let me make sure I go in the proper order. All right, Mr. Riccadelli, you're going to go first. And I really did do these questions randomly, I promise. So, question 1, for the last 2 years, the current council has passed a no new revenue property tax, which is often called the effective tax rate. Would you pursue an effective tax rate each budget cycle? Why and why not? Be as specific as possible, both of you, and what your policies about this would be.
You said I'm going first?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Derek. Well, let me start by talking about my record. In the 4 years that I've been serving on the City Council, the first 2 years I voted against the tax rate because I thought it was too high. The last 2 years, as Derek noted, we have adopted a rate at which the average homeowner in Plano saw a property tax bill that was the same as or lower than the property tax bill they had the year before. I've always made a commitment to look at each budget cycle, one budget cycle at a time. It is always my goal to adopt the no new revenue rate, the effective tax rate. As to guaranteeing that for the next 4 years, we've seen some crises that we never would have anticipated in the past year. It is always going to remain my goal to do that, but I want to make sure that we look at each year on its own, given that we could face unexpected economic conditions. But rest assured, I will do everything in my power to keep us at the no new revenue rate, as I have all 4 years that I've been on council. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Levine?
My answer is no. I favor a pragmatic, needs-based approach to our city budget, not one where you start with a number and work back from there. While we must be very conservative with our spending, our public safety departments, public works, and our precious library and park systems must be able to grow along with the needs of our citizens. To be the city of excellence requires we not stagnate or fall behind, as our current budget process may force us to do. No one wishes to pay more in taxes. I certainly do not. But shortchanging Plano now in maintaining our police and fire amenities and infrastructure will lead to much higher costs for replacement facilities. It will make us less safe and secure, and we will find it more difficult to retain our city employees, our corporate employers, and our home values. Thank you.
Second question, and Mr. Levine starts us off, and we've heard this issue before, so I'm going to make it actually an audible and make it a two-part. So what's your stance regarding the city's role in promoting and supporting affordable housing, and how would this impact the city budget? The thing I would add is, if you don't think this is one of the most pressing issues, tell me what is. Mr. Levine.
Affordable housing is a pressing issue for Plano. We need to be able to house people who work here or want to work here. Right now, when you think about affordable housing, you're thinking about something that maybe is for low-income people, but actually, the way affordable housing gets measured by our federal and state governments, we're looking at somebody who would make a relatively average salary other places in Texas. And when you think about the fact that a teacher in Plano earns about $58,000 to $62,000, this would not necessarily qualify them for what we would consider, what the state would consider to be affordable housing here in Plano. So we need it. We need to graduate it so that more people can afford to live here, and we need to make sure that the people who work here can afford to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think in talking with friends who are realtors, everybody knows that finding a decently priced house in Plano these days is difficult. Affordability for all housing types is certainly a challenge, and one that I think we can pursue solutions, like if we have more options for seniors who want to downsize out of their current house, then that might free up some older houses for first-time home buyers to move into the community. That being said, it's also important that that any challenge that we confront regarding affordable housing is done in a way that does not destroy the city's property tax base. And as many of you may know, there is a state law currently that allows a 100% property tax exemption for affordable housing that's only at 80% of area median income, so not even that low. That could make the rest of us pay more in property taxes. As a council, we are asking the state legislature to fix that law because we want to keep your taxes low. So thank you.
And with that, we have closing statements. Mr. Levine, I believe, went first last time. So, Mr. Riccadelli, 1.5 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, thank you, Derek. I'm running for re-election to City Council, as I mentioned, to continue my work on your behalf. I never forget that this is your city and your City Council. You're my boss. You can call me on my cell phone anytime at 972-345-8730. I would be honored by your continued trust to accomplish the important work we are doing together during this time of both challenge and opportunity. And I also want to address a word that I heard used, the word stagnation. Keeping Plano a thriving suburban community does not mean stagnation. Keeping our taxes from rising does not mean stagnation. We can continue to have nice new construction, maintaining a similar level of density to what we have currently, continuing Plano's growth on the trajectory that has been so successful, instead of dramatically departing from it upward. And I'm proud to say that that's what we've been doing the past 4 years that I've been on council. We don't want to mess with that formula for success. Moreover, we don't stagnate when we keep property taxes reasonable. We've even been able to hire additional city employees where needed while enacting a tax rate that, as Derek mentioned, has kept the property tax bill, not just the rate, the bill, the same or lower for Plano homeowners the past 2 years. That can be done through prudent planning and fiscally responsible management. If you re-elect me, that's what you will continue to get on council. So I ask for your faith in me for another 4 years. Thank you.
I've lived most of my life in two remarkably similar cities. I grew up in Skokie, Illinois, a northern suburb of Chicago, which is amazingly like Plano, where I've lived since 1983. Like my time in Plano, I lived there while the city was growing and building out, adding housing, schools, and businesses at a very swift pace. My brother and I attended 4 different elementary schools while we lived in the same house as the city grew. Skokie was the home of many high-profile corporations, including Allstate Insurance. It was the first suburb of Chicago to have a light rail system. It attracted ridership from into downtown Chicago from the further northern suburbs. Skokie's public safety, schools, nationally recognized library and park systems were and still are the envy of other area communities. And as I headed off to college, the city had reached maturity. And within a few years, I saw that Allstate moved further north, and newer suburbs were taking over these important companies. If this sounds familiar to you, it's because Plano is now at this precipice. I learned a lot as Skokie faced its maturity head-on. They dealt with redevelopment successfully. They repurposed school buildings, including an empty high school. They embraced growing diversity. This is a life lesson I can call on as Plano goes through similar maturity. Steve Levine, running for place 2. Thank you.
Well, I know it's difficult to do these 1 minute, so thank both of you and all the candidates tonight, and give them a round of applause again.